Okay, I think I'm live. I never know, but I think I'm live. Let me just. This is my first time streaming on YouTube instead of Twitch, so it might take a second to sort out um, whatever is going on here. OBS doesn't seem to know that I'm streaming on YouTube, but I'm not that worried about it, honestly. Whatever the control panel thing is that it has, is whatever. I don't really care. So I'm gonna copy the stream URL, send it to myself, and just like put out some quick announcements. I never know whether I wanna does that work? It doesn't even look like it works. Um, well, I'm sure nobody's tuned in yet, so that's okay. I have time, and I can figure out why this link isn't really working. Well, this is unfortunate. Oh, this is, wait, is it locked? Data is encrypted. What are you talking about? Data is not encrypted. That might be the wrong thing. How do I, I'm very glad nobody's tuned in yet, because I have no idea what I'm doing streaming on YouTube. How do I link people? Oh, what is it? This share live stream. Ah, that'll be it, isn't it? Copy video link. Yeah, nice. Very nice. Link copy to clipboard. Nice. Okay, so I'll just put that on like, you know, send it to my friends on Discord and stuff. Real quick. Okay. So I've sent that out, and it should be good. Okay, so, oh, I'm always I'm always nervous streaming. So a lot has changed since last time, as you can see. There's a lot of all these blocks in the starting room are like just to test the tiles that I've been working on. They're like, that's all they're there for. But yeah, so it's been a while because oh god, Trinket. it's it's been a while. 'Cause a lot happened in my life, and there's like long story that I could tell, but the short story is just like shit happened. I wasn't focusing on dev. I was focusing on other parts of my life. Not very balanced, to be real with you. But now I'm like trying to balance the different aspects of my life with dev. Because before I had no work-life balance because all I was doing was game dev. And then for a while I had no work-life balance because all I was doing was things that aren't game dev. AKA life, I guess. So I'm, you know, just trying to have more balance with my life. I'm actually going to start over because I don't want Trinket right now to show the game. Still don't know exactly how I feel about that item. So yeah, let me see if anyone's tuned in. Oh, we have 2 viewers. Lovely. Oh, wait. Oh, I know why I would want to be able to see the thing, because I gotta be able to see chat. That's important. Is this close? Okay, who is Velo? I guess we have Velo in here. Okay, so things that are new since last month. Several months ago. I've completely removed combat from the game, because I wanted to, well, there's honestly like a lot of different reasons that I did that. A big one is that like I was struggling with the design space of like, it's a platforming game, you know, so like it's all about moving around, and it's, you know, obviously important that I encourage that kind of gameplay. But the problem I was having was that like combat was the goal. So effectively like the destination that you would want to platform toward was always like also had to be a hazard, right? So like enemies were kind of doing this double duty of like they were both destination and hazard. And like that ended up being a big problem because every time I would try to design an enemy, it would end up like I felt really constrained, because like I didn't want them to always just like come straight to you, right? Because I'm not playing very well because I'm also talking. But I didn't want them to like come straight to you, right? Because at least not always, because then it's like, well, what are you like platforming around for if they're just coming after you? Like what's the point of like using all of these cool like platforming abilities that you get? And like I was kind of finding ways around that, like ways to kind of play in that space. But it felt really restrictive, and I started to realize like it would probably feel a lot more open and freeing if I kind of just decoupled those two things, right? So like the enemies, you actually can't kill this guy right now. I just have to skip this boss. But so that's these blue things, right? Like I've essentially just decoupled the destination from the hazard. So the enemies are these hazards that you can't get rid of, and then the destinations are what you're going after. And I think that like really recenters the focus of the game like on platforming. Instead of kind of being this weird hybrid focus between like kind of platforming and kind of combat. And I think there's a lot of potential in this direction. As you can see, like, there's very few rooms that I've done yet, because I've basically, like, thrown out, like, all the old enemies. Not completely, like, they're still in the code, and I could just put them back in, but, I've thrown out a lot, like, you know, basically all the old rooms and, like, all the old enemies and stuff to, like, explore this design space where, like, you, you know, where it's centered around getting these blue things to clear the room instead of beating the enemies to clear the room. And something I like about that too is, like, it makes the game feel less, like, brutal. Like, I felt kind of bad, like, in the old builds where you had the, like, baseball bat and you were, like, beating enemies and, like, collecting their blood. Like, it was just starting to feel really brutal, and I felt, like, weird about making it. Okay, yeah, see, at this point we're also, like, past the bounds of where the game, like, makes sense. So, like, you essentially can't play past, like, floor 2 at this point, just because I haven't, like, you know, retooled floor 2 stuff, to fit this new design direction, so I'm just gonna have to start over. Yeah, this stream is going to be very short because there's not much game to show right now because, you know, as I was saying, a lot of stuff has been cut to try and explore this new design direction, including a lot of the items, because a lot of the items had to do with combat and, like, dealing damage, and that's not really a thing in the game anymore, so, like, you know, those items kind of either have to be rethought or just removed. Zoe the Bee is asking, I'm sure I'd learn if I keep watching, but I'm impatient. What game engine is this? It's a Game Maker 1.4. I've been meaning to switch to Game Maker Studio 2, mainly just because, you know, it would be nice to be able to put this on consoles at some point. But for now, it's on 1.4. And 1.4.9999 actually. 4 nines, if you'd believe it. Apparently they put out a patch, I think, like, maybe right before Studio 2 came out or something, and they were like, yeah, this is the final patch, and they, like, broke some things that have, like, never been fixed. So, thank you, Yo-Yo Games. Yeah, Game Maker 2 does seem based. Like, some of my friends are, like, sad that they removed the, they're sad that they removed the 3D features, but I wasn't really worried about that, honestly. I was like, well, whatever. I don't really use those, so it's fine by me. So what was I talking about? Oh, I just kind of started the game over, because that's the current build, you know, like, some of the bosses aren't really fightable yet, because, you know, because of the design direction change, like, the later floors are completely unplayable. Like, that's this build. You're not going to be seeing, like, you know, you're not going to be seeing super riveting, extensive, long runs like last stream, because those really don't exist in this build. You can't play for that long before running into stuff that is, like, just not playable. That's part of the thing with this direction too, is I think it's really reliant on like, room designs that fit where you are in the game, because obviously, like, this room is, like, pretty trivial to navigate without using any items, and that's the point, because it's for, you know, the early parts of the game. But, like, if you were to imagine this room existing on, like, a later floor, there would be, like, fewer platforms and it would be harder to get around, so you'd really be relying on the items you get more. Like this one I got, which is hard to see. You can see it in the upper corner there, wall run, where it's just if you run into a wall at speed, you kind of climb up it. One of my favorite items, actually. It's really simple, but I enjoy it. What types of items will there be? Dylan is asking. Oh, Dylan is my roommate, by the way. Welcome my roommate to chat. Roommate slash person who owns the house I live in. I never know like what to call that. I'm sure that counts as a roommate. So the main thing with this game, I'll actually like just straight up show some of the items right now. The main thing with this game is it's a roguelike. So you know, it's all about like runs that are like randomized, and you get like random rooms and random items. Um, and usually the items you get in a roguelike are like weapons or like things that, you know, increase your like attack power in some way. But I'm doing a platformer roguelike where most of the items are platforming abilities. So this one is like a basic double jump. And then I also have this one, which is like, it's a dive, which just, you know, sends you forward fast. And then I have, this one's kind of wordy, dive, wall, warp. This one is my favorite item in the game, where it propels you forward, and then if you hit a wall, you pass through it like that. I'm really proud of this item, and like it leads to some really funny use cases. I'm very excited about it, and also like, you can screen wrap with it like this. Like you hit the edge and then you go all the way to the other side. And then what other items? there's HRT, which is internally called strawberry, which is it's the dash from Celeste, which if you're familiar with the meme of like you come out as trans and then it gives you a double jump. That's why it's HRT. It's a little bottle of estradiol. So the other thing is that so you can get like lots of different abilities in one run. And so a lot of them go on what's called the chain, which it's hard to see up there because it clashes with the background. I need to change the art for that, but you can see that I have wall warp first, and then I have HRT, which like means that, you know, once I jump and I press the button for using these items, first I'll get wall warp, and then if I press it again, I'll get HRT, and then that resets when I touch the ground. So like one of them is up first, and then the next one is up next. And basically that just means that like all of these items can be on one button, which I think is nice because, you know, you get different items every run, and you don't want to be like memorizing like a bunch of different buttons and being like, oh god, like what can I do and what can't I do and what buttons are they on? Oh, actually, you know what? It's not bad right now. The game's actually running fine. Usually when I stream this, it runs like really damn slow. Because my computer isn't that good, but it's actually fine right now, which is pretty great. So yeah. Let me think of another item I could show. I have wall climb, which, because some items go on, they go in this slot up here, which you press the left trigger to use. And those are specialized items that wouldn't really fit in that kind of design space of like, you know, stuff that you would do in order, like in midair. Like wall climb is like, you know, it lets you climb walls. Definitely like stealing that mechanic wholesale from Celeste, like with the limited stamina and everything. And then let me start over and show another fun one that I actually just did new art for. This one is it's like, the idea is that it's a mirror, and it's hard to see because the background used to just be like plain gray because I didn't make a background yet, so it's like hard to see. But if you can spot that like gray rectangle, that's like, you know, essentially my mirror image in the room, and then I can press that button to swap with it, which is really neat. Leads to some like really snazzy smooth maneuvering if you use this thing well. There's also, I forget what I called this one. Oh yeah, it did a new sprite for this one too. Themed it after a camera, because it's like another one that's going to be hard to spot because it's going to be black against this dark background, but you start holding the button and it takes a snapshot of your position and then you release it and you go back to where you were. Oh, and it also snapshots your whatever your speed was at the time. So like I was jumping up, so like it snapshotted that and then I did that. And you can also use it to like go back between rooms. Like I took a snapshot in this room and then I go back here. What else? What else could I show? Let me look at the Zapline. That's a really fun one that I'm super proud of. It basically just you press the button and you just zip really fast in one direction, like whatever direction you're holding. And it just doesn't stop until you hit the wall. So like you have to be like it can move you like really far and really fast, but you have to be judicious about it because you don't want to like, you know, run into something dangerous, or you don't want to like, oh, why didn't the room clear and the doors open? That's kind of weird. Well, whoops, that's broken. I don't know why that didn't work. Oh, I think it's because I used that item to leave the room, and it the data, like, it probably, I'm not sure exactly what happened, like data-wise, like, but I'll probably just like go in there and figure it out. So let me think of like any other items. I think I've like shown the point of like how there's just like a lot of different platforming abilities. Oh, I spelled it wrong. If I type in an item that doesn't exist, it just spawns an item with no data, which uses that X sprite that does nothing. This is Bomb Burst, a really simple one that just like you go in this arc and it gives you a lot of speed, but it's one of my favorites, honestly, just because like I love anything that gives you a burst of speed to play with. I just think that's fun, like especially if you get something like double jump afterward, like it really shows the kind of combinations you can get and how they can shine, because like you use this and you get that big burst of speed and then like you double jump and it kind of carries it forward, and I find that like cool and exciting. And so I'm really excited about like the kind of combinations that people will get. Oh, right, and of course, of course, there's stuff like Trinket that completely like transforms the gameplay, and makes it so that instead of jumping, you have this gravity flip. If you've ever played VVVVVVV, it's basically that. And every time this item comes up, I'm like, oh, am I gonna remove this? Because, like, sometimes it's a lot of fun, and sometimes it's, like, such a transformation of the gameplay that it, like, feels... that it just kind of feels, like, bad. It's like, oh, this is gonna, like, ruin my build and, like, make everything sad. That's what it feels like sometimes, but actually, I did a playtest, like, months ago, and it was, like, everyone's favorite item. Like, they thought it was so funny, and it kind of broke the game. So I do kind of feel like I have to fight to keep it, because, you know, the playtesters did love it. It's gonna be a hassle too, like, compared to some other items, like, the challenge of, like, actually programming it to, like, be functional is, like, really tough. Because every item has to account for your gravity direction, right? So, like, the sprite isn't flipped right now, but, like, in theory it should be. So I'm like, I am in theory upside down right now, so you would think if I use Bomb Burst, the arc would be, like, down, but that's not the case. And I have to program that individually for, like, every item that, like, gives you vertical momentum. I gotta, like, reverse it for every item. Like, I haven't been able to think of, like, a cleaner way to do it. So if I want this item in, I just have to do that. And that's quite the commitment. And I don't know if I'm gonna do it. But yeah, there's also items like steel skull, which oh, I'm on the ceiling, so okay, hang on. Let me start over so that I don't have that anymore. Steel skull. This item used to be relevant because you could damage enemies. You would basically like hit the ceiling and it would like damage everything. Depending on how close it was to where you hit the ceiling. Oh, and it is actually killing them because internally they do still have HP. It's just usually you can't damage them. But in this case you can. So I really want that item to still do something because I like the idea of like making you want to hit your head on the ceiling so that, because it kind of like transforms your perception of the room, right? It's like, oh, I want to hit my head so I can get this, but it will take some refactoring, but if you make items use gravity to determine which way is down, you could then just switch it. Yeah, that's the idea. Like I have a variable for gravity, and I have to like make all the items like multiply what they do with your speed by the variable that determines the strength of gravity. Um, and that it's not too much to do, but it is like a small hassle, you know. Um, so yeah, once again, there's not a lot to show right now. There was a lot more before because there were like way more rooms and like the runs could go a lot longer. But I do like this direction. I think it's like cleaner and like probably more accessible too, like more easy to get into because there's like, you know, you don't have to like get used to attacking things as well as platforming around. I'm not completely married to it because I did like some of what the combat system had. But you know, we'll see. I'm exploring. Oh, and I don't think I've mentioned all stream that, like, you know, there's a bunch of art in the game now, too. 'Cause, you know, last stream there was basically no art, and it was just gray. Everything was gray. Um, and now there's stuff in the game. Let me actually, turn off, visible hitboxes so that you can see these enemies a little better. 'Cause, yeah, basically all the old enemies have been removed because like, you know, they were designed to be attacked and these are designed to chase and put pressure, which is like, you know, slightly different needs between those two things, you know. So there's kind of like two different styles of enemy that I've been exploring. There's these two guys are both kind of belong to this style that's like, you could see like the guy that was like the white one that was like chasing, and the other one that was like jumping toward me. Oh, here they are again. The dynamic duo returns. So this guy, this like white eye thing, is like targeting my current location and like heading toward it, but like, you know, with some drift. So like it's so hard to play and talk at the same time. I'm so impressed. This is why I don't stream outside of, you know, these dev streams, because it's so impressive that people can like play a game and also form complete sentences at the same time. But yeah, so you know, they're both targeting my current location, and so the idea is that they create kind of a constant pressure. 'Cause I've figured out that like obviously there's like recurring room designs all over this game. And the last thing I want is for players to get like so used to them that they just do them in a rote way and they don't like feel like they're flying by the seat of their pants or anything, because that's when you get them to use their items, because they panic a little and they're like, oh, I gotta use this item to, you know, survive this situation or to like handle this faster so that I have to deal with this hazard for less time. Once it kind of gets rote and they're like used to it, it's like, well, they kind of like, oh, well, at least I find as a player that I forget to use my items, which are supposed to be the star of the show. So it's going to be important with like later floors, like later parts of a run, to like have it be in theory like possible to take a normal route without using any items, but like way more efficient to use like your items, because these are like floor 1 rooms which are designed with not having any items in mind, but like later rooms will be designed with, you know, having items in mind. So ideally players will be creatively navigating them with whatever they have found up to that point in the run on like floors 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh yeah, shops are completely they're nothing in this build because there's no like money at all because the money was tied to the combat system because it was blood. That just doesn't exist right now, so that's kind of pointless. But oh yeah, here's basically the cape from Super Mario World. Just lets you fall slower. But then, so I did remove combat, but you can still, like, you still fight, like, a lot of enemies you can, like, jump on their head, because, like, attacking enemies from above was always the most fun part of the combat anyway. So, like, that's what you can do, but for most enemies, it just kind of stuns them for a second, but for the bosses, I did want to explore, like, more direct, kinds of encounters, in that space where, like, the destination is also the hazard. Which, you know, I think absolutely can be done. I think it's just too narrow design space to hang the whole game on. So that's why that's what the bosses are for. And I find that one really fun. Like, I was playing pretty poorly because, once again, I am not a streamer by nature, but when I'm, like, locked in the zone fighting that one, like, not only does it feel exciting because it's like I'm always looking for an opening, because, like, you know, it's like shooting in that radial pattern, so it's like you gotta kind of like either weave between it or like respect it and like kind of follow that same radial pattern, which can be difficult because it's moving around and like you need a platform to do that. And then also, like, once you hit it, it's like, hey, get the fuck off, and it like is shooting directly at you, so you have to like maneuver carefully, you know, to like slowly let the barrage of fireballs pass you. Oh yeah, this is the other guy that you can't fight right now, so I'm just gonna skip it. Oh, and here we are at the portion of the game you can't play. Truly broken game design. I love my little unfinished game. But yeah, so this is a known quantity, me jumping around and forming incomplete sentences, trying to stream and play at the same time. But yeah, so I like that boss a lot. And I think other bosses will ideally have kind of a similar feeling to them, where it's like you're kind of looking for an opening. Oh, now it's really slowing down. That's tragic. You're like looking for an opening in a pattern, and then trying to capitalize on it before it closes. And you're also like moving around trying to like, you know, maneuver to avoid things and like get into that opening. I think that's like exciting, and I want to lean into that kind of design. So yeah. Oh, let me circle back. I think I was talking about the art, and I kind of like completely just stopped talking about it because that's how this goes. But yeah, so this game takes place in hell. But I kind of, the way I'm depicting it right now, I kind of want to overhaul it because it's very like generic fire and brimstone type. And I've been thinking about the idea of hell being like this traveling serpent that kind of like it like burrows through the ground, and it's like made up of like the like viscera of like the people that it has swallowed, and it's kind of this like it's like this punitive carceral structure that is this serpent. And people are kind of like, in ways, like submitting themselves to it and like feeding the serpent. And this doesn't scream like interior of a serpent so much of it as it screams kind of generic fire and brimstone, so I'm probably gonna overhaul that. I'm struggling to figure out exactly how to depict, because I want it to have like faces and like eyes and like teeth and mouths and like maybe like genitalia or something all over the inside of this place, but I don't. It's like gonna be hard to depict that in a tile set and like a background. Probably have like a lot of like randomization to like put things in different spots, but then I'm like, if you go into a different room and then like come back, it'll randomize it differently. So like I gotta figure out like a deterministic way to randomize it, or like save what the randomization comes up with, so that when you come back it is the same. I'd prefer not to have to do that. I'd much prefer just a way to make it deterministic so that it's the same every time, and it doesn't actually have to remember, it just regenerates it. But yeah, so that's what I want to accomplish, and I'm kind of like uncertain how to get that kind of look in a tile-based system right now, because there's going to be a lot of rooms in this game, and I have an automated system to tile them, to like make the visual tiles, and I don't want to have to do it by hand. It's that simple. Because that would really balloon the development time, and I think this is already kind of ambitious, and I don't need to be hand decorating every single room in the entire game. But yeah, so that's what I want it to be. And so I want to get there. And then I also have this protagonist who's like, I really like her. I don't think I fully understand her as a character. Like, I've been wanting to do, I don't know, I have so many different desires for like what I want out of the characters of this game. Because I was thinking like I really wanted to have a character who's like, because I love like sunshine characters on TV, like, characters who are very like love and sunshiny, like, like SpongeBob and stuff. But like, I wanted to have a character who felt that way intentionally. Like, she's like a loving and sunshiny person, but like, I wanted her to come off like that's kind of a choice, and like she's been through a lot of trauma, like, because I think they usually depict those characters as like they are that way because they are childish or naive or pure, and like I really like the idea of a character that like is that way, and she's been through like a whole lot of shit and her life has been difficult, but like, and like maybe she even has been somebody she regrets in the past, right? But like where she is now, she's choosing to be this kind of like loving and sunshiny person. And so that's kind of like what I was thinking when I did this character. But she also like comes off as kind of like, oh, what's the word? I do, in fact, love to talk and play at the same time. She comes off as kind of, like, strong, which doesn't feel wrong. I don't know, like, because I also wanted her to be, like, clocky. Because this game is, like, I want it to be very trans, like, to its core. And part of that is, like, I don't know if I really succeeded at this, because, like, I feel like there's a really fine line between making a character that looks like a transphobic caricature and a character that, like, looks clocky in an artistic and tasteful way. Um, but you know, I gave her like the big nose, and like her shoulders are kind of like broader, um, reasonably speaking, and like her hips are like small. Um, like I don't know, maybe I could like exaggerate it more. Like it's been a difficult thing, but you know, I'm still sorting that out. But like that's the idea. Like I want to explore like really like I don't know how to explain it. Like um that's why I need to make art about it because I can't put it into words. But oh, one thing actually that um a part of what I've been working on with the art that is like not implemented in the game right now. There's this one boss cuz I want to have like a lot of like, and I've been thinking about the logistics of actually accomplishing this lately. And I think I'm going to need to have a toggle. But I want to have a lot of like trans nudity in this game, like naked trans bodies. Like I have this one boss who's like this cool, like she has like a crow skull on her head. And she has these like mage robes, but she's like naked underneath and like her wang is out. And I don't know if I don't know if I like how much I can even talk about that on YouTube, and probably not like show it, right? And that's like, you know, YouTube and Twitch are very important platforms for like people learning about and like seeing content about games. And if I really want to have lots of like naked wang in my game, uh, well, I have to figure something out, right? Because YouTube and Twitch are both pretty strict about that. And it would suck to not really be able to have like presence on those, right? Because I mean, roguelikes are pretty popular with streamers, you know. And it would suck if you couldn't really stream this game on either of the two major streaming platforms without getting your stream taken down. So probably what I'll do, and this is gonna add like a lot of extra work, but I think it's important for like the themes of the game and stuff. You probably just have to have a toggle. Like at the start of the game, it's like, hey, this game has like shitloads of wang in it. Do you want to like censor that? You can toggle it. You can like I don't know. I could just like make duplicates of all the art with like censor bars on it, or just like remove the wang and they're just like Barbie doll or something. You can hear in my voice that I don't want to do that, but I may have to. But I think that's important, 'cause like, something, and you can tell that like I'm still kind of nailing down the themes of this game because like I was just talking about like, a giant worm that's like this carceral system, and like looking at the idea of like punishment and fear, but then also like I'm talking about like, well, I guess these things kind of fold together, but I'm also thinking about the idea of like, oh, and that's the thing, is something I want to explore with this, because this main character doesn't feel like it's something that like would be relevant to her. But I do want to have other characters, and it's going to be a struggle to like figure out how to explore them as characters without like having to make too much bespoke content for them, because you know it is a roguelike and you like ideally you just pick a character and play through the game as them. But then, you know, the question is like, you know, if I want to have lots of different characters that are expressed as characters, like what do I have to make them like their own like cutscenes and stuff. Like, how exactly am I doing that is a big question that I'm still trying to explore. 'Cause, you know, it would be nice not to, like, have to make a bunch of specific cutscenes for different characters. Because also, I don't want to, like, interrupt the flow of a run by having cutscenes. So, like, you know, ideally, a lot of these things would be, like, explored in, like, subtle, kind of, abstract ways that, like, you know, just kind of come out through the gameplay, so there's, like, a synergy between, you know, what I'm trying to express thematically and, like, story-wise, and, like, what you're actually doing in the game, because, you know, it feels a little ham-fisted to just be like, well, I want to explore this theme and idea, so I'm just going to make cutscenes for it, but also it's a roguelike, and, like, I don't want to break up the flow of a run. I don't know. Definitely stuff I'm exploring. There's games that, like, do theme really well, like Binding of Isaac, while being a roguelike. And I've definitely been thinking about stuff like that. But yeah, so anyway, I really like the idea of, like, you know, so you've got, like, your characters, like, going through this, like, carceral system and kind of, like, beating its ass a little bit. You know, the carceral system that is the worm that is hell. And like, where was I? Because, you know, then in theory, like, if there's hell, you've also got God, and I do want to explore the idea of God, right? So I was thinking, like, I think a really, like, something that really resonates with me is the idea of, like, putting this into words is hard because it's, like, there's a lot that's folded into it that I still don't understand, because, like, how much of this can I talk about, like, on YouTube? Because there's kind of another, like, heavy element to this game, like, beyond, like, the nudity aspect that, like, a little bit, much for YouTube, I think. So I think I'll actually just keep that part out. And just say that, like, I like the idea of God, like, coming down, right? And being like, okay, and this is really fuzzy in my head, because I don't know if it's God being like, okay, cut this bullshit out, but, like, him being like, okay, well, I probably can't kill these guys for whatever reason, but, like, I can, like, offer them something to, like, make them a part of my deal. I don't know, I've kind of been trying to contrive a situation where God would, like, offer, this character, like, a version of herself that's, like, cis, you know? He's like, hey, here's this, like, cis femme, like, body and life that you could have, like, in theory, this thing that, like, you're supposed to want, and, like, maybe you do, right? And then, like, exploring, like, how this character reacts to that, and, like, maybe you could, like, fight that version of yourself as kind of, like, a shadow self fight thing. And then, of course, like, the question of the logistics of, like, what if you're playing as a different character, right? Like, are there shadow selves for all of them? Well, actually, that could work. Like, just, like, their different desires and, like, what to them would be a shadow self. But I just think that's really compelling, the idea of God being like, hey, like, here's this, like, just this temptation of, like, here's this, like, cis version of you that you could be, and just exploring, like, what the character would even think of that. Because I think there's, like, a lot of room, because, you know, obviously a lot of, like, art with trans characters in it is pretty sanitary. And I feel like a lot of people aren't exploring, like, that kind of question of, like, because I think, like, probably most trans people, if not all the time, have experienced that kind of feeling of, like, envying like cis people and just being like, why couldn't I have just been like born the way I would want to? Um, and I think that's a feeling that like we kind of shy away from, and it makes sense why, because like being trans is cool, and like just thinking about it in terms of like I wish I wasn't, like that kind of like, I don't know, that sucks and it's not very celebratory, and I'm glad that a lot of trans content is like celebratory and like just general attitudes online. Like I'm very glad that we're not generally wallowing in this feeling of like, oh, I wish I was cis, like I wish I had all the aspects of that, but I do think there's like room artistically to explore that kind of feeling, and that's like something that I want to do with this game, if I can find room for it, right? Because I really think that idea too of like God being like, okay, here's this body that you could accept. Like I think that's like really compelling, and I like the idea of like a character resisting that, like either because they don't want that, or they're like, no, I'm trans and like I like my body and I like exactly how I am, and I wouldn't be who I am if not for it. Either that or like kind of resisting it as like, well, maybe I would want that, but like it's I'd rather not become an arm of your bullshit, and then maybe it kind of feels like kind of exploring the idea of having to go through the state to transition like physically, right? Because like if you want like bottom surgery or something, like I don't know, I'm on state insurance, so that's kind of a feeling for me. It's like, oh man, like I want to get like bottom surgery, and also like I'm on like federal like national insurance or whatever, and it's like, huh, so like the government is kind of sanctioning this, and like in theory they could like take it away if they wanted, like exploring that would be interesting too. I don't know, I think it's just very ripe, and I have a lot of like feelings there that I love the idea of like digging into. um oh, you can tell that I'm really like just thinking about this because all I've been doing is just like riding this boss that I can't kill because that's this build of the game. Oh, it is 8 o'clock. I have been waffling for a long time. Well, I'll probably... Whoa, it's been like an hour? Oh my god. The time, like, flew. Well, yeah, okay. Um, that was fun. uh... Yeah, the game's not in a state that I'm super proud of right now, in part because there's like almost nothing in it right now. There's only a few rooms. But hopefully next month, it's in a state that I like more. I really liked where it was last month, but I want to explore this direction further, and see what kind of fruit it bears. So that's what I'll be doing, and seeing if maybe it can reach higher heights than where it was last stream. But yeah, so thanks to everyone who tuned in. I had a good time. I'm gonna split. I hope you're excited for this game to come out. I want it to come out in 2026. And hopefully I can make that happen if I keep at it. Goodbye!